Hi, my name is Pastor Tanner. I'm one of the associate pastors here at Grace Point.
And I'm Pastor Karen. I'm the student ministries pastor, and we want to welcome you to this video we're going to be sharing with you today and also answering a few questions.
So let's get right into it here. A couple of things happened with the youth over the weekend. There was an all-nighter that took place.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Friday night we had an all-nighter, and that's really what it was. We stayed up all night from 7:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. Saturday morning, and we did all sorts of things. We played some games. We went up to Get Air in Salem. We went Cosmic Bowling in Salem. Came back, played lots of games here. A game that is their favorite is Murder in the Dark, which sounds awful, but it's a fantastic game. And they played that for a few hours. We had snacks, and it was a fun time. We were all very tired, but it was a great time. One of the highlights of ministry, that's for sure.
Awesome. So have you caught up on sleep?
Yes, sort of. I'm pretty tired by like 9 o'clock. I'm very tired.
You're getting there.
Yes, I'm getting there.
But also this weekend, your brother's visiting.
Yes.
You want to share a little bit about who he is?
Yeah, so my brother, Matthew, is visiting for the next week. Oh, hi, this is him. And you can go now. That's my brother Matthew, and he's my little brother, and he's here visiting. Came a week ago. He's here for another week, and he's a barber, and so he cuts his hair when he can, when he comes and visits. I don't know. It's exciting that he's here.
Popular question we got, does he have a girlfriend?
He doesn't. He's single. And he is dating Jesus, so go away, ladies. I'm watching you.
That's pretty cool. I understand we have a couple questions from the sermon.
Yes, yeah, we have a couple questions. So in your sermon, you talked about how people just assume that they know what's best, right? They are opinionated and want it their way and not necessarily God's way at times. But you did mention that you've experienced just a touch of just wanting things your way through your driving experience, and how you're often in the car with someone and GPS tells us to go one way, and then the driver says, no, we're going to take this way. And they want to know, was I the one driving the car?
Trying to trap me here. Actually, no, I don't. I genuinely cannot think of a time where Kara has done that.
I don't drive.
And I didn't really have anyone specific in mind. It's happened with quite a few people. I tend to just take the shotgun seat because I get less car sick there, and I become the natural navigator. And so it's been a fun time over the years just watching how people assume that they know best and know best than the GPS that's literally looking down from a satellite and can see way more than we can. So
no, it wasn't me.
So no is the short answer.
It was not me. So in your sermon, you talked about Matthew 11, and you kind of went through the whole chapter leading up to the main point of your message. And one of those things is the games that children would often play in the streets or in the marketplace. Can you explain a little bit what that is?
Yeah, that was fun kind of researching this. In Matthew 11, verse 16 and 17, Jesus compares the generation at that time to something that the children in that day would commonly do in the marketplace. In verse 17, he says, what should I compare this generation? It is like children playing a game in the public square. They complain to their friends, in verse 17. We played wedding songs and you didn't dance. So we played funeral songs and you didn't mourn. And then the next two verses after that, he goes on to explain basically how the Jews rejected John the Baptist and Jesus based on their appearance and them not being who they expected. And so this weird game that the children would play in the public square, the little girls would play flutes to the boys, and the boys would dance as if they were at a wedding. And then in turn, the boys would wail in sorrow as if they were at a funeral, and then the girls would play funeral songs.
That's such a weird game.
Such a weird game. As I mentioned, I have no idea why it was a game, but that was the history and why Jesus is saying this. I think part of it is in the Jewish culture, festivals were a really big deal. And so I think for even the children, it was a big deal for them to celebrate.
I guess it's like
things.
us playing, when I was a kid, I played school.
Yeah.
And we played house.
Yeah, and so what Jesus is saying is, this generation is like these kids who are doing these things, but they don't react in the way that they should. So for example, if you were playing house and you were the mom, Jesus would be saying, well, we were playing house and you didn't play the role of a parent. You just kind of stood there and let your kids do whatever, and that kind of thing. And so what he's saying is, John the Baptist came, making the way for the Messiah, but you didn't respond to him. I'm coming as the Son of Man, the Messiah, and you've rejected me. And so just kind of using that metaphor that they would have understood as the kids playing and not responding to the other kids.
So in your sermon, your main point was to be teachable, to be a teachable Talmid, which again, as a reminder, Talmid means disciple. And so what were like the three main points of being a teachable Talmid, one that can learn from the rabbi who is Jesus?
Yeah, so in this whole chapter of Matthew 11, we see that the central theme is a rejection of both John the Baptist and Jesus because they did not come as the Jews expected them to. And so really the theme that culminates in the end of chapter 11, where Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and laden with heavy burdens, come to me and find rest." He also mentions in that to be, let me come and teach you, Jesus says. And so the whole premise here is that there's so much rest in being taught by Jesus. And so it's so important as Talmid to be teachable. And the first part of that is stop assuming that we know and understand. Stop automatically thinking that we already have Jesus figured out. I shared that I lived a lot of my life just assuming that I knew best and I had things figured out. And I praise the Lord that he humbled me and taught me that no, you don't. That one of the biggest parts of being a Talmid of Christ is actually letting him be the rabbi, letting him teach me, letting him teach us. And so that goes right into the second point of being to listen and be taught. That it is so vital for us to understand that, again, Jesus is the rabbi and we need to learn from him and stop assuming, again, that we know. And the third part of that just naturally comes from that is rest. This passage that we went over in 25 through 30 in chapter 11, Jesus calls us to rest in him, but he also says, let me teach you. And so it's really, if we really want that rest and to be able to rest at the feet of Jesus and allow him to take our burdens, that all involved in that is letting him have our burdens and stop assuming that we can handle it. Stop assuming that we know what's best and we can solve everything. And even in the simplest things in life, going to Jesus first and allowing him to handle those burdens and admitting that he knows best and we don't. And there's so much more rest in our life when we are able to come from that attitude.
There's so much more to that passage than I had even known. Definitely. I mean, taking that passage into context, I'm sure it's quoted so many times that, give God your burdens and he'll give you rest. But I mean, to see that it's coming from one who is willing to be taught and then you get rest, just takes it to a whole other level, again, with just so much that we're learning in this sermon series about discipleship and what it actually means is so much deeper than I think the church has explained it. And so, yeah, just another reason to give all of yourself to Jesus, and then you will get that rest and you will get everything you need if you just let him teach you and let him be the king of your life. Yeah, and if you haven't had a chance to be here for either of the first two sermons of the sermon series, I would encourage you. They are on our YouTube channel, Albany Grace Point, where you can catch up on the last two sermons of the sermon series, and there will be two more to come this Sunday and the following Sunday. It's going to be a great rest of the sermon series, I believe. We're learning a lot about what it actually means to be a Talmid, a disciple of Jesus. Yeah. Well, that's it for our Q&A, and we want to just, again, invite you to watch our live stream taking place every Sunday morning. We live stream our services at 8:30 and 10:30. And also check out our website, albanygracepoint.com, where you can just see what we're about and the things that are coming. Yeah, things that are coming up. A lot of fall kickoffs are taking place this week, and so just check it out on our website. Check out our YouTube. Comment below if you have a question about the sermon or about anything we talked about, or just a general question that you would like us to answer next week. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.